Hi from Central Pennsylvania. Well, I'm very excited about today, and I think once you've seen the program, you'll see why. I got to tell you, went on this trip to Wyoming, and there was this guy there. Never heard of him, but actually I had. I actually saw him on TV, but just didn't realize it. You know, it's you see things, you see people, and sometimes you just don't recall. But I had known him before this, and this guy comes out there, and I got to tell you, infectious enthusiasm. That's an understatement for this chap. He is all over it. He's a wonderful, wonderful human being, a fantastic photographer, professional photographer, and an actor. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, a Hollywood actor. So we haven't had one of those on the program yet, so let's see how that goes. But trust me, he's a wonderful person. I'm going to welcome him right now. So Erik Bello, welcome to the show, Erik. How are you?
I am awesome, Chris. Yourself?
Listen, I'm great. Hey, Erik, you had put a link for those who were part of the trip of these 8 billion photographs that you took out there during the trip. And I was going through them earlier. I'm like, man, I knew they were great photos because I'd seen a lot of them as you showed it to me as it went along. Plus, I was there when you took a bunch of them. But I got to say, Erik, you're pretty clever, man. You took a lot of photographs of people, and especially of me, that I never knew you took.
See, photographer ninja. That's what I try to do. Those candid shots where no one knows you're taking a photo, those are the best ones because you catch people right doing what they do, and there's no filter, no like, hey, the camera's looking at me. It's just you being you.
Yeah, well, you know, it's interesting, Erik, because you say that, but like most photographers, when it's time for a candid shot of photographer, you're always posing. So I had to be surreptitious to get some good shots of you just kind of, apropos, at the moment sort of thing. But I did get a few of those. So, but
you did.
It was a lot of fun though, Erik. I mean, you and I hung out quite a bit during this trip. I know you hung out with a lot of people, but we spent a lot of time together, and I think I came to know you quite well. And I think you're a fascinating person, and I'd like for people to get to know you a little bit about you today, whether they've seen you on television or I don't think my audience has ever seen you in a telenovela. I'm just going to say that up front. That's probably pretty low likelihood. Yeah, I don't have a lot of Latino or Latin folks who are watching my shows. Well, of course, I'm familiar with telenovelas. And, of course, we know that, what's his name? Erik Estrada is a massive telenovela star over the years.
Yes. Yeah, telenovelas, I did a bunch of them in Miami. They're a lot of fun. I remember my first ever lines and scene in full-on Spanish. And I speak Spanish, but still, it's terrifying. English is my native language. I walked in there, and they're like, all right, I knew my lines in Spanish. And I had it down, but I was terrified. And when I started the scene, I jumped the gun. I jumped my lines like, no, not yet. Hold on, hold your horses. It's just a little bit, give a little time. And one of the cool things about that scene is we nailed it. We got it done. And about 8 years later, I was doing a movie. I was cast in a movie, and I walk onto the set, and one of the other actors is the same person I did a scene in my first Spanish scene, but he was doing it in English, and he was exactly where I was. He was terrified. He's like, oh my God, I got to get this right. My lines. And I was like, don't worry, we got this. I was like, I can repay the favor now because you helped me through it in Spanish and I'll help you in English.
That's pretty awesome.
So it was a really cool thing.
That's really cool. So speaking of Spanish, Erik, as I recall, your dad is from the U.S. and your mom is Venezuelan, correct?
Yes, and you'd never guess that I'm half Venezuelan, and I look like my mom. She's the blonde hair, blue-eyed lady, and my dad is brown hair, green eyes. And everyone always thinks, oh, you look like your dad. I'm like, no, I look like my mom. The blonde hair, blue eyes, surfer look comes from my mom.
Well, you kind of look like a Viking, so it kind of throws us all off.
I know, right? Yeah, bring this out a little bit, mess up the hair.
Maybe we can get you a casting call for that sitcom Vikings. That would be hilarious to be on there.
I know. I'll get some furs and I'll throw them on there and I'll send my audition tape in.
There you go. That'd be awesome. Yeah, no, but well, I guess we should dispel some things. People think of Latin America and then they have a specific, mindset of how people are, what they look like. But Latin America is actually quite diverse. Some of the countries down there, Argentina, for instance, and Chile have lots of those of European descent with blue eyes and blonde hair, and very, very different, lots of different surnames from all over Europe. So a lot of times you have this mindset of what you think. And even Venezuela has some diversity itself, just a bit there. So a lot of Italians, I understand, have settled in Venezuela over the years.
Yeah, exactly. So you get, the Venezuelan look, it's like you think of that dark hair, dark eyes, dark skin look, but you got everything across the board down there. And so I happen to be one of the lighter skin, although I do get a really good tan, which drives my wife crazy because she's Puerto Rican and I get darker than she does.
Well, that's got to get confusing. Yeah, see, your dad's from the U.S., your mom is Venezuelan, your wife is Puerto Rican, your kids are probably like, we're just American.
Yeah, we're like, those are my parents. And that's all they say.
Well, I guess
they're all blondes.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
They're all blonde. So not a single one of them had my wife's dark hair. She's got dark brown hair, and all of them are blondes. And she's like, the first question, is it a boy or girl? And what color hair? And the nurse each time was like, sorry, ma'am, blonde hair.
Now, at the risk of offending, which is not my intent, Erik, but I would suggest caution, because given the fact that none of the kids appeared with dark hair like your wife, and you are Catholic, she might keep trying for that child to come with the dark hair.
Right. Well, we missed 4 under 4 by 2 months. So I think we're taking a little break right now. We're a little worn thin with kids right now.
That's quite a narrow spread for kids. That's got to be a challenge as parents.
Yes, we finally figured out how it's happening, so we stopped it. You missed that health sciences class in junior high school. So okay, gotcha. We did. I was sick that day, and we finally figured it out.
Actually, speaking of school, if you don't mind, Erik, you went to seminary for I think nearly a decade. Is that true?
I did. I was there from all my formative years, from 14 to 24. I did my high school and college in the seminary. Incredible experience. And it was one of those, everyone knows that the seminary is studying to be a Catholic priest, and it's a vocation. It wasn't my vocation. And going in early, and I knew it wasn't my vocation. It wasn't what I was meant to do. It wasn't what I was called to do. Great shoe, just didn't fit. However, I was very good at what I did. I'm very good at telling stories, creating bridges between someone's idea, problem, dilemma, and a solution. So finding all those things that create a bridge from one idea to another to help someone out, I was very good at, which led me into how can I take what I'm good at and help people on a global scale and on a bigger scale, since being a priest is not my vocation, and acting, the love for acting came into being, and it just became like, this is what I want to do. So I came out of the seminary at 24, just laser focused. What do I do? I want to be an actor. I want to tell stories that are going to make the world and help people become better by, the character and the story remains. I'll be long gone, but the story will stay, and people can live on that idea and feed off that idea and that principle, and, make decisions to become better themselves by whatever story I can tell.
Well, having gone to seminary, I'm going to guess that in many respects you had a classical education, and so you're steeped in the humanities and philosophy and reason. Is that fair, or am I missing something?
Yes, no, 100%. Yeah, the arts and philosophy. It's a great. It's I was watching Joe talk yesterday, and so we went through the same formation, and it was that critical thinking, the ability to analyze a problem, to see where you stand, where the opposition stands, and how to find a middle ground, or to show what's wrong with either argument is, critical in any sort of discussion. And it's not just like strong arm or muscle start your way in and say, no, this is the way it is. And no, you don't learn from that. It's about learning both sides of the story.
So you mentioned storytelling, and that's kind of the path you've taken in life here. And so you've acted in telenovellas, you've acted on television programs, some of which we mentioned: MacGyver, Good Girls. I think the Glades. I love the Glades. I didn't realize you were on that. I'm gonna have to go back and dig through my DVDs and figure out which episode that was, because I love the Glades. Is it Matt Pascal? I think his name is. He's Australian, and I just love that show. It's another one of those network things that got canceled too soon. But the Glades, you're even in ER. Of course, I got to be honest. I stopped watching ER 37 years ago. It got old for me.
That was one of my very first jobs, was ER. That was back in Chicago, right when I started. That was really cool. And the Glades was funny. That was a cool show because I had to practice my holding my breath, because I'm the dead guy in the episode. I'm the guy that gets killed. So they literally buried me in the sand, and I had this little straw that they would stick out from underneath the ground, and I would breathe through that. And then as soon as it started rolling, they would pull the straw out, cover up the little hole in the sand. And then I could hear action. And then the girl pulls my necklace out, and she pulls me out of the sand. So that was the beginning of the episode. So
Well,
Cool scene.
I would suppose that you would really hope that there weren't multiple takes as they were doing that after they took the straw
I
out.
know, they're like, oh man, we forgot to roll the camera. We didn't have sound, guys. Do it again. Bury him.
Yikes. Now, where was that filmed at? Was that filmed in Florida or out in California or where?
That's Florida. That's in
Oh,
Miami.
it was okay. Because I mean, you can never tell with these TV shows. I mean, they're like Silk Stockings is Miami, but it wasn't Miami. It was actually San Diego. I think they used for it. So you never know.
Right.
And so many of the shows they try to hoodwink us. This is the desert, Arizona. No, that's British Columbia. Thank you. I've been there.
Like Dexter. Dexter shot. It's set in Miami, but it's all shot in like a quarter mile out in California.
Exactly.
And they will come once a year, more or less, to Miami and shoot. And I luckily enough got to be on that show when they were shooting in Miami too.
So you were on Dexter as well. Wow, I didn't realize you were on
It's
Dexter.
a Dexter too.
Okay.
I'm always a cop, a FBI agent, an officer, or a bodyguard, or a soldier. That's my role.
Or a body.
Or a bodyguard, or a body. Yes, the dead guy. I'm good at that one.
So telenovelas, television, and you've also been in film. You've had leading roles in some films, probably not ones particularly widely known to a lot of folks. But you and I were talking about, and I said, "What's your favorite role ever?" And that was a film, as I recall. Can you tell us a little bit about that film?
Yes, it's called the Conquer series, and it was one of those roles where the gentleman who I get to play, his name is Ted Roberts. He was a Marine fighter pilot, an incredible man, and without giving too much of the story away, he very rough beginning to his life. Mm-hmm. But his one passion, the one thing he really wanted to do, was become a fighter pilot. And he did it. He went off to the Marines, became a fighter pilot, and he was one of the best. He served our country for years, and came home after his tours, very with all of his childhood and everything that he'd seen in war, very angry and bitter, and a lot of inner demons that he's fighting with, and he didn't know how to deal with it. So he it led him into the porn industry, and unfortunately, that's where he got stuck in that for a while, until he almost had this one accident that nearly cost him his life, because he's an adrenaline junkie, and he decided to go cave diving after, going with an instructor. And he goes into this cave with an instructor. They go deep into, they're like 100 feet deep, and they come up, and there's an air pocket. And I don't know if anyone's ever been cave diving. It's one of the coolest experiences I ever got to do. Go, about 150 feet deep and 150 feet into a cave. And I have never seen black like that before. And the guy that I was with was the National Geographic scuba diver. He goes up into this other cavern looking for something, and he's like, wait right here. So I'm sitting there just treading water, can't see a thing because he took the light with him. So I'm just waiting, just pitch black. Don't know what in the world's in there with me. And he comes back down. And he's like, all right, come on out. And in the story, what happens is, or in his life, he gets to this air pocket, he talks to his instructor, and they go back out. And he's like, you know what? I can swim back without my tanks, get to the air pocket, take a breath, and go back out. And he's like, I'm going to do this. So everyone else is having lunch. He just, slips away, gets back in the water, and goes for it. Swims into the cave, gets to the air pocket, and it's gone. There's about an inch of air, and there's nothing left there. And he just takes a quick breath as much as he can, because, he's hitting the rocks in the top of the cave, and takes a half a breath and starts swimming back out, because he's in panic mode right now. He's like, I got to get all the way back out of this cave. No one knows I went in here. Gets out of the cave, goes to the surface. His dive knife catches on a rope on the bottom of on a rock on the bottom of the river right there. And he's literally feet from the surface, fighting as hard as he can to get there. And he can't reach the surface. And he's out of breath, out of time, nothing left to do. And then his training, his Marine training kicks in. He's like, stop, calm down. Looks down, grabs his knife, cuts the rope, and breaks free. And in that moment, when he came up after that, he was just like, I really got to change my life. I have a wife. I've got kids. I can't do this to myself anymore. And he changed his whole life around, became a Christian pastor, and now counsels people on addictions worldwide, but not necessarily from a faith-based point of view. He became a neuroscientist and studies the effect of addiction on the brain. And from that's his starting point. Faith is just an added benefit to it, as opposed to, look, this is a science behind it. On top of that, we can bring in the religious aspect, but look from a science point of view, what's happening to us with these problems. And it was a really fascinating learning experience for me, and for me to be able to play him in this story.
No, that's absolutely amazing. No, I remember when you recounted the story to me, I was kind of like, when I asked you that, I figured he's probably gonna say like I was really stoked to be, I don't know, on The Walking Dead or something like that. And then you told me about this movie, and actually that was far more fascinating than the answer I was expecting. So it's nice to have your expectations subverted. In that case, my expectations are subverted. So, are you interested in getting, or have you been involved in any production work as a producer or something like that to tell the stories? Is that something you'd want to do? I mean, beyond the acting, or just stick with the acting?
The acting is always, it's my heart and soul, and photography blends right into that because I'm telling stories just on the other side of the camera, and now with the way things have been going and what I've been learning, there is definitely a couple stories that I want to tell. And I think we spoke about a couple of them on the trip, but one of if it's the only movie I ever produced, the only series I ever make, I'll die a happy man, and I could hang out my hat and be proud of myself. But in Rome, I got a chance to, when I did my college there, walk the steps where the battle, and I got to meet the Swiss Guards and talk to them and learn about their history. And I think no one's ever, to tell the story about the Swiss Guards is going to be one of my greatest movies that I'll ever make. And I'm so looking forward to it. We're putting together, we've got the script going, and we're putting all the pieces into place to make that happen now. So yeah, we're producing that, but I am acting in it too. I have my character, and he's a cool guy.
Well, if you need somebody to play a dead guy, I mean, just give me a call. I mean, I look the part. I look like a medieval scholar here with this, but I could be. No, but seriously,
we need some more Swiss Guards, so
yeah.
we got another character.
I could do that too. But seriously, so for folks who don't know, the Swiss Guard, of course, famously the folks who are responsible for security at the Vatican there, and they have a long history of being involved in that. It's quite a historic story, and I don't think we're aware of people really doing any serious documentary about this, and that's what you're doing, right, Erik? You're making a serious documentary about the Swiss Guards.
Yeah, it's a documentary and then a movie. So the documentary is going to be the research that we do for the movie, talking to the Swiss Guards, and because it's bringing knowledge to who they are, the smallest standing army in the world, and they've been around since the 1500s. They're coming up on their they just had their 500th anniversary, and the anniversary of the battle that I want to talk about and tell about is 5 years away, or no, what do I mean, 6 years away. So it's something that to me it's just a part of history, and I love the church, and whoever's been to Rome can attest to the fact that you walk through history as you're walking through the streets in that city, and to me that's fascinating. It's not like walking through you go to New York is beautiful, it's cool, and you see here they're great, but you walk through Rome and those European cities, you're walking through history. Like you look at that water fountain at the corner of the street, and you're like, that's been there 2,000 years. And, it's probably got a couple new pieces on it, but that's been there for 2,000 years. And to me, that's fascinating. And to walk the steps where these battles happen, and there's not too much better than that.
Well, I'm with you on that. I've been to the Vatican a few times, several times actually. But unfortunately, every time I had a chance to go to the Sistine Chapel, it was being renovated. So I couldn't see the ceiling because they were fixing it. Yeah, so I missed out. But I'm sure it's lovely for all the people who get to see it after the renovation was complete. But no, I'm with you on that one. I guess a lot of people, the most they've ever seen of the Vatican is Dan Brown's Da Vinci Secrets movie with Tom Hanks, and the security that's there. So a little bit of Hollywood in that movie, I'm just saying, But no, there's the Vatican.
Just a little.
Yeah, the Vatican's pretty interesting. But hey, you think that's interesting, Erik? Let your mind get around this one. Going to Jerusalem, you see tree graves that are older than Jesus. They predate the birth. They predate the birth of Christ. How incredible is that? I mean, you think about that. This tree was here before Christ walked this ground. That's just. I mean, when I went to Israel, I was like, wow. I mean, you know these things, but you never really think about it. That tree is over 2,000 years old. Wow.
Wow. Yeah, I've never been there. That's on my list. So
no, definitely you got to hit it.
After we film in Rome, after we film our scenes in Rome, we'll stop over in Jerusalem on our way back.
No, you
Well,
should do that. You should do that. It's an amazing city, and what I love about the city is all the different quarters. You've got Druze, you've got Muslims, you've got Christians, different sorts of Christians, and all these little sections of the town. Armenians have a section. I don't know why Armenians are. I don't know that history, but there's Armenians there too. But it's a fascinating town. It's really something else. It's quite even for a person of not deep faith. I have to say it's a spiritual experience to go to Jerusalem just to see all that stuff. It's something else. The Wailing Wall, just really something else. But yeah, so one day you should get there. You should check it out.
It's on our list. I know I think it would just, yeah, like you said, history, and no matter what faith or walk of life you are, just going there to see it's learning about our world and all the different cultures that are in it, which is just important, especially now, in this day and age. Everything is so much more open and learn. We can't be locked into what's just ours. Let's see everybody's. And that to me has been one of the greatest lessons from the seminary, being able to travel the world and see different cultures, experience them, because that's really important, because it opens doors rather than, closes them.
Now, I should let people know, because it's difficult to get a full view of you here on the camera, but Erik is a rather short, rather frail, unimpressive figure of a man. I just so you know that. No, you're not at all. In fact, you are quite the adventurous person, the outdoors person. I don't want to say adrenaline junkie, unless you want to say that, but you're into martial arts. Obviously you're into hiking. I mean, listen, you carried more of a load than anyone out there with all those batteries. I thought I had a lot of batteries, but you had a lot of batteries. Plus, you had a camera that weighed 5 times what my camera weighs, so you win that battle. But you really do like adventure and outdoor stuff. I mean, at least that's the impression I get.
I do. It's an adrenaline junkie is a good word for me. I've had to taper it down now that I'm a dad. Although I do have to. I show my kids, all right, you want to do this? Cool. This is how we do it. And so I jump first. Like, look, this is how you want to jump. This is what we're gonna do. So no, I love living life and experience things and having fun. That's what it's all about. And I'll never back down from a challenge, and I'll always go out there and say, like, look, this is where we're going to a mountain. Cool. Let's see what it looks like from the top. I'm not going to be like, oh, cool, look up there. And I'm just going to go, let's go find it. Let's go explore. 'Cause that's part of my nature. I don't know how else to shut it off or do anything different. It's like, I want to go out and explore and see everything there is to see. And I think that it leads to a much more rewarding and rich life. And with, what's that phrase? I want to end my life skidding in dirty and full of bruises, saying, damn, what a ride.
I don't think I've heard that line before, but it's interesting. I like it. So there's a couple questions here. Alma was asked, have you gone to India? I've never been to India. Have you been to India?
I have not. I actually met a couple people in, I'm pretty sure the correct term is Bollywood. I don't know if that's the official term, but it's Bollywood. And they talked to me about going over there, although it never materialized. But it's one of those places that I think would be really cool to go see.
No, I'd love to see in Bollywood. I love Bollywood, man. Those movies are awesome. They are.
No,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, you do all the dances. No, it's for the Americans aren't familiar with Bollywood. If you watch Big Bang Theory, you got a small taste of it in one of the episodes there when Raj was in love with Bernadette, and he daydreamed, and he was like a scene out of Bollywood. There's always lots of singing and dancing, but the Bollywood movies I really like are the ones that are done abroad. Like Bollywood does movies in Canada. They also do them in the UK, but I've watched movies. It's always interesting because there's always a protagonist, there's always a bad guy, and you can figure out who it is pretty quickly. And there's always lots of dancing and beautiful women and very sharp-looking men. It's fascinating stuff. It's Madhuri Dixit, Ashura Rai. It's a lot of Bollywood's cool, but there's also, I don't know if you know this, Erik, but there's something called Nollywood. There's a pretty big film industry in Nigeria. Now, it's mostly kind of like the telenovela, soap opera sort of thing. But I will tell you this: if you're ever invited to go to Nollywood, you're not going to make much money. They don't pay very well, but it can be a lot of fun. But I will tell you this: if you're curious about who the bad guy in the movie is, look for everybody around you. Look for the mixed race actor. He's always the bad guy. So he comes on as a Lothario, as a nice guy, but he's always a guy that cheats on the woman. He's always the guy that steals from the firm. Always the mixed race guy, the guy that's part European, part African. It's always the one. So I could tell you, if you're in one of these, don't worry about the script.
That's the one.
That's the guy who's the bad guy. So anyway, just thought I'd share with you. But that's Nollywood, which is actually a film industry, and they make a lot. They do a lot of recordings there. It's not high quality video, but it's entertainment nonetheless. I watched a lot of Nollywood when I lived in West Africa. It was interesting. So Judge Doom's Jury of Sin says,
Okay.
some folks have very interesting usernames here on here. So Judge Doom's Jury of Sin says, Amir Khan and Shah Rukh Khan are my favorites. Cool. That's from Bollywood. Cool. And then somebody said that you're not an adrenaline junkie unless you jump out of a plane.
All right.
They said you're not an adrenaline junkie unless you've jumped out of a plane. And then
I've done that a couple times.
Oh, so there you go. Adrenaline junkie.
I've done that a couple times.
But Catherine pointed out to the person making the comment that, as the colonel says, never jump out of a perfectly good aircraft. I'm just saying.
I didn't know if it was good or not. It was still flying when I jumped out of it.
Okay, fair enough. Well, hey, let's shift gears a little bit here and talk a little bit about the acting sort of thing, because I think that's something people are very fascinated in. So when we were in Wyoming, you got some casting calls. If I'm letting state secrets out, let me know, and we'll just stop the stream midstream. But you got some casting calls, and you're like, I got to do this bit for it. And then I think you asked me, or I volunteered, or both, if I'd help you read the part. And I'm like, sure. And we got back. You did it right there in the ranch. I was like, don't you have to have some kind of setup? You're like, no, I can just do it in front of this wall. I'm like, okay, if you say so. So I read the one part, and you read your part, and you didn't get the part, correct?
I did not, which is fine. It was, we can't talk about what it was for, but it's a really, really big show. And I had auditioned for 3 different roles in that series for that show. And I had auditioned for one right before I left for Wyoming, and then 2 while we were there. And so thank you again for reading with me, because that was super helpful. But the casting process and to get an audition, honestly, it's 90% of the battle, because the last part of it, whoever gets the role, a majority of it doesn't depend upon me, on my performance.
Froze up. Folks, looks like Erik's connection is frozen up there. I'm not sure what happened there. Erik, if you can still hear me, stop your camera and try to restart it again. It looks like we got frozen there, folks. Let me just take him off the screen. Folks, you're listening to Erik Bello, a professional actor and photographer who lives in Atlanta, Georgia. Erik is let me get back. I got to get over here so when he comes back, I can get him in. So, yep, I don't know why he's there. Let me just send him a note real quick. Erik, more chat. I want chat here. Sorry. So you probably be able to see this. Oh, he's dropped off, so hopefully he'll get back there. But whoops, well, now I'm all confused to here. Let me get all participants. There we go. Folks, yeah, Erik is a professional actor and photographer based in Atlanta. He's originally from Chicago. So we're talking about his dad's from the U.S., his mom is from Venezuela. He's married, has a lovely family, and his wife is from Puerto Rico. And anyway, so we were talking about recent, or how you actually do auditions and such for programs, which is fascinating. For those who are just tuning in, you're listening to Chris White Africa on the Daba Africa channel. My special featured guest today is a friend of mine, Erik Bello, who's a professional actor, and his connection just went wonky. It went cattywampus there. So hopefully he'll call back in a moment. Let me just see what's going on here. Make sure he isn't trying to call me on the phone. But his connection just dropped off there. That was kind of odd. But what's this? Keith says, you're going to tell us that after reading the part you did, you got him. No, actually, that was what I was going to say, Keith, is that much to my disappointment, he didn't get the role. And I'm so disappointed because I wanted to be able to say, hey, I helped him get the role. But nope, he didn't get the role. So it was disappointing. But for me, it was an interesting experience because Erik just stood in front of this wall in a lodge, a ranch, and just read his part. And it was interesting because I thought, here he comes. He's coming back. Let me get him back here. And let me take off all that and then get, he should be up in a second here. All right, he's coming up. There we go. Erik is back, but you're on mute. Your volume is on mute. So welcome back. Well, technology doesn't always work as well as we'd like it to. So Erik is back now. Folks, Erik,
all right, hold on. There you go.
Okay, I can
Can
hear
you
you
hear me
now.
now?
I can hear you now. It's like a Sprint commercial.
For some reason. Oh, there we go. Now I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, it's like a Sprint commercial. I can hear you now. Anyway, so speaking of which, you also do commercials. But I was telling people as I had a little bit of dead air time there to explain, so I didn't lose all the audience, that a little bit about it. So someone said, Keith Alderson, who's in the UK, said, "So Chris, I suppose you're going to tell us because you read the part with him. He got it." No, he didn't get the part. It was very disappointing because my claim to fame would have been, listen, I helped Erik get this major part in this top program, and he didn't get it. So I was really bummed out. But actually, Erik, I'm going to reveal. Here's the big reveal now, folks. Erik doesn't want to let you know this, but he was actually auditioning for the lead role in the sequel to Baby Shark, do 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 do, Daddy Shark, do 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 do, Mama Shark, do 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 do. Okay, now I did that, Erik, because I know you got a bunch of little kids in the house. You probably hear that all the time.
We do. I try to forget that. That's like, get that song out of my head. No.
There's the earworm. Baby Shark, do 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 do. And unfortunately, Erik did not get the role. I was very disappointed because he was going to be the Grand Poobah Shark in charge of the school of sharks swimming off the coast of South Korea, which is where this originally came from, by the way, in case you didn't know that. That little earworm. Anyway, but you were saying, Erik, before we got cut off, that the process of, how it works. But by the time you get to sending the audition tape in, it really isn't necessarily you. I'm guessing, I think this is where you're going. Tell me if I'm wrong. It's really just the fit for what they're looking for. And you're probably perfectly talented to be in the right guy to be the role, but maybe someone else is just something a little bit different. I mean, like, listen, Steve Buscemi is not the most attractive guy, but he gets great roles because he just has that weird vibe about him. It just fits in so many scenes.
Exactly. It's all about how all the characters that are in the scene and how they all fit together. So, in a nutshell, the way it works out is like for every role you see, or every speaking role, let's put it that way, everything that's someone got a little bit of a substantial role. Say when the casting goes out, they're looking for, a male, mid-30s, athletic build. Let's just throw that out there. So the agents are going to submit everybody, and the casting director is going to get, say, maybe 600 submissions.
Wow.
600 different people. From that, the casting director is going to submit, they're going to call in, of those 600, 50. And those 50 people are people they know, like a majority, like 40 of those people they know. And then they're like, okay, we'll see with these other 10 people we've never seen what they can do with this. And those 50 people get an audition, like what you and I saw. We get a chance to audition. Mm-hmm. From that, one person gets it. So if you can see the scale for every speaking role, it's just like this massive amount of people, 50 are chosen to audition, and one person gets it. I am consistently part of that 50. So that to me is a win across the board, because even though I didn't get the role, only once in the past 20 years have I ever seen the person cast actually look somewhat similar to me. And it was an audition it was for the Hunger Games. And I was really upset at myself because I was like, I got the audition notice and I was like, I was driving from Orlando back to Miami. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this when I get back home. I'm going to do it in a couple hours. I'll do it later tonight. And I didn't do it right away, which was my instinct. And the guy that got cast looked just like me, but just with a little bit curlier hair. And I was like, man, that was the one time I should have done it right away. But, every other time they don't look anything like me. So I just didn't fit into the scene. And like you said, I'm bigger and I'm blonde. So there's a lot of attention that my, light hit me and it reflects off of me. So your eyes are always going to be directed at me. So whoever's in the scene with me, I can't overpower them, or everything's got to blend nicely. So it's a good thing and a bad thing.
No, absolutely. And I guess that's refreshing. I really like your outlook on it, Erik, because it's the same way when people apply for jobs. Someone who's incredibly qualified and they apply for a job and they don't get it, and they probably think, well, why didn't they like me? Well, you might not have been the right fit. You might have been a very qualified candidate, and they're just looking for something different. And I like your approach. And I guess for you, there's some anecdotal evidence, like except for the one time, no one's actually looked like you. So it was a different look and it might not have been the look they were looking for. It might have just been when they put it down and they looked at everybody, they're like, wait, this is compelling. Let's go with Steve instead of this other guy.
Right. Yeah, that's what it is. So once it gets to the end of the day and once your audition's in, I can't do anything else. All the factors, everything's out of my hands. I don't hold any cards left. So I just have to, but that I auditioned, it's a big thing. And when I tell people I audition 5-6 times a week, they're just like, wow.
Yeah, because other actors like I get called once a month if I'm lucky.
Yeah, exactly. So if I'm getting like 5 a week, which it's at that stage again, even now we're coming out of COVID and now everything's in production, and it's been a lot of auditions. So I'm grateful for all those chances. Really, truly am. And like you saw yesterday, I was back on set, which was
I
really,
was
really
going to ask you about that because while my mini claim to fame that unfortunately you didn't get the Baby Shark movie, but so I'm disappointed in that. But I did not help you with whatever casting call you did for this one. But I did see, I think it was on Instagram or something like that, that said you're on set again. I'm like, wait a second, what's he filming now? Are you able to share, or is this a state secret?
It's a movie called Christmas Dilemma. I don't think they're gonna have it done by this Christmas, so it might be next one. But it's a really, really funny movie. It's called Christmas Dilemma, and I'll let you know once I find out when it's actually gonna be aired and put out. But really funny movie, and of course I get to play the cop again. It's my my role.
Shocker! I think you're typecast there.
I know, but that's cool. There's cops all in every TV show and every movie.
True. So, I would love to see you in Bosch. That would be awesome. I love that show. I don't know if you ever watch it with Titus Welliver. Oh, that is an awesome cop show. That's on Amazon.
It's on. I wonder. I'll find out where they film. I'll look where. I'll see where they're.
Oh,
they're at.
They film it in L.A. of course, but I mean, I'd love to see you on that show. That would be awesome. That's an incredible show. Really great. It's from Michael Connelly's detective series by the same name, Bosch, and it's awesome. He's been on for like 5 years, and I was watching it again last night. Just like the 15th time I watched the second season. It's just awesome. Really great scripts, great acting, great execution. I'd love to see you on that show. That'd be awesome. Pretty cool.
All right, deal. I got a goal here. Another one.
All right. So this Christmas Dilemma, folks. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you're curious, as we haven't really got into it now, we'll get to it shortly. But Erik is also a professional photographer, and when I say professional, this dude knows his photography. He's got an eye for things, and he just thinks the right ideas when it comes to photography. So maybe I'll show you some of his photos later on because some of them I have access to. These share with me. But Erik. All of his links for the photography, both on, let me see, the screens, no one's gonna be able, you and I aren't gonna be on the screen for just a second, Erik. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring up some of your links just so people can take a quick peek at it, but it's in the description of the video below. So that's not the channel you're supposed to see, folks, or that one. Here you go. All right, so here's what I want you to see. This is Erik Bello Photography, and that's how it says ERIK, Bello Photography, one word.com. That's in the links below. You can check it out and see his photography. This one's amazing. This looks like a lighthouse with some rain clouds in the back. That's gorgeous, Erik. Where was that shot at? Do you recall?
Jupiter, Florida.
Jupiter, Florida. Okay, that's beautiful. And then here's the Facebook page right there. And you can see that, Erik Bello Photography. And then Erik Bello, Erik Bello, Erik Bello, excuse me. And I don't know how I could possibly forget that because one of my favorite actresses is Maria Bello. So Maria
Bello, she's amazing.
She is awesome. So, and she's quite talented, quite a range. But here's Erik's Twitter account. You can check that out. He's also, go check it out, folks. Follow him. It's see, I'm following him. You should be doing it too. But here he is on Instagram. And then also finally we have that's his acting on Instagram and then acting on Facebook. So his links will be his acting as well as photography. But Erik, let's talk a little bit about your photography because it's pretty amazing, man. Okay, but before you answer, that night when the temperature dropped to 8 degrees. Okay, remember that night?
How could I forget that night?
Exactly. So you and I were out there, and I saw you walk around with your camera, and I'm walking there. Hey, what are you doing? Try to get some pictures of the star, and you're like, yeah. And so you set your camera up, and you started taking pictures of the Milky Way, and it was really cool because you left the lens, the aperture open for, I think, 25 seconds or something like that. And the campfire was burning behind us. The one night we could have a campfire because it was a fire danger the rest of the time. But we had a campfire, and the trees in front of us were silhouetted, and they wound up being orange and red because of the light coming on there. And it was captured. Unbelievable photographs. What made you think of that? Just because the stars, you hadn't seen so many stars because Atlanta is a light pollution town?
Right. Well, yeah, I've never been in a place like that where I've seen that many stars. I grew up in inner city Chicago, then I was in New York, I was in Rome, I was in always big cities. So I've never seen stars like that. And looking up, I was like, that's the Milky Way. And I'm like, I want to try to get pictures of the Milky Way. And so I was like, you know what? I started to set it up. This is the first time I've ever seen this in my life. So I've got to take pictures. And we were out there every single night taking different pictures of the Milky Way. And I was really proud of those photos, but those ones with the red trees just look so cool the first night.
No,
Yeah,
absolutely. They were amazing. That was just epic. I'm going to try to bring one of them in real quick while you're chatting, but you go ahead and tell people about that.
that was yeah, it was cold. We had our gloves on and just amazing what nature is and what's in nature, because it's, I've been in a city my whole life and I've been near one, so just hearing that quiet and just the stars, the amount of stars, and it was just fascinating to me. I'm like, I got to get a picture of this, and I'm so glad we have this wide angle lens, and we went out there and just experimented and got the shots that we wanted to get, which were so cool.
Okay, so Erik, I know you can't see it because you're in Zoom. You're not on the stream, but folks, I just put one of the shots we're talking about. This is in the Wind River Range, western Wyoming, the Green River Valley. This was, I think, like the 8th or 9th of September, something like that. It was nearly 0 Fahrenheit. It was about 8 degrees that night, and at this point, it was probably already down to about 10 degrees. We're standing around. You and I are a good 15 meters away from the fire, which meant we were getting no benefit from the fire when you took this right. photograph. And then it was really cold. And you set that aperture. These trees, we can see they're kind of orange looking. They actually look like they're dead pine trees because the yellow needles on them, but it's actually the light reflecting from the fire. And above that, you can see the Milky Way, ladies and gentlemen. How amazing is that photograph? That is unbelievable. This was, I mean, when Erik took it, we're like kids in a candy store, like, this is awesome. This is unbelievable. Now, I've seen the Milky Way a lot. I lived in Southern Africa where you can see the southern constellations. It's beautiful. You can see, and you have there's not a lot of light pollution. And I've lived in a lot of places where I've not seen a lot of light pollution. So I've seen the Milky Way before, but the framing of the mountains in the foreground, plus the trees, plus you had the exposure so you can actually see the shape of the Milky Way. Erik, this was amazing. Brilliant job. Well done.
Thank you. That was my first attempt at, astrophotography. That was the first time I've ever done it. So it came out pretty good.
I would have to say result. Well done. Okay, now I'm back on the screen. I was covering up my face because I had to put it somewhere on the screen so people can see that. But ladies and gentlemen, there's this example of the sort of stuff Erik does. And he just was experimenting. I mean, he's using his skills. He knows how to use his camera. He has an eye for things. And it was perfect. So I'm sitting there all envious. I'm like, hey, man, I gotta get this stupid phone. I can't get the aperture. Erik's like, well, you got to try this. And we're standing there, and our fingers are numb. And he's trying to help me sort this out. So I got my little mini tripod out. I set it up, and it only does a 10-second exposure. I got pictures, but they are not that impressive. Actually, I got good pictures of the Big Dipper because it's so bright, and that showed up well. But my aperture couldn't stay open long enough on this camera to get real detailed stuff. But man, it was awesome. That was a lot of fun that first night. And even though I love the cold, I'm a Viking, but I'll admit, Erik, I was a little chilly that night. But I wasn't thinking about it because, well, I was thinking about it that night when I had ice on my sleeping bag and my feet were frozen. But oh my goodness! But while we were taking the photographs, I wasn't even thinking about it. It was just a lot of fun. It was brilliant. It was brilliant.
It was, I didn't even feel the cold. I was so excited that the photos were taken and I was able to see. Yeah, that was cool. But I remember that night I had to sleep with the camera. I was like, you are not going to freeze on me. I'm keeping the camera close so you stay warm.
So Erik, if you don't mind, can I share that photograph on my channel so that people can download and have it? Okay. So what I'll do is initially I'll put that up for members of Chris Wide Africa. Ooh, if you want to support the channel, you'll have access to the amazing photograph. And then I'll let everybody see it later on. But for members initially only. So anyway, so we'll put that up.
I think you should put the one of you cooking breakfast and you got the little bit of smoke coming up and the tabletops off in the background. Have you seen that one yet?
I know which one you're talking about, but I haven't seen the photo because I was pressed for time, as we were talking about earlier. There's so many things going on this morning that I only got through like the first 15% of the photos you're taking. And of course, I was only looking for pictures of other people, not of myself. So, I didn't really... Actually, no, I was looking for pictures of other people. The pictures of us on the bridge, you have some really good candid shots of a bunch of us on the bridge when people are fly fishing. Well, I wasn't fly fishing. I knew better. How funny was
not cooperating.
How funny was that? We're looking at the water and there's like 8 billion salmon in the water below us. You could toss a rock in and you're going to hit a salmon. There were that many in there. They're not tiny. They're huge. And so we had 4 guys or so who went fly fishing, and for 3 days they didn't catch anything. And then this guy comes with his son and his daughter-in-law, and they're there for 15 minutes, and they walk away with 6 massive salmon. Like, what the heck? And somebody said, they used the red lure. They used the red lure. And then we got a fish finally.
I know that was pretty funny because no one caught anything. I'm
Yeah.
trying to find this photo of you. I'm looking for it right
Oh,
now.
okay. Yeah, but it was pretty awesome. So Eric, this the documentary and film you're talking about for the Swiss Guards, that should be fascinating. But that's not something we're going to see tomorrow. I mean, that's what 2, 3, maybe 4 years down the road, probably. That's how long it takes
Two,
for
three
something.
years away, I would think. Yeah, I mean it takes a while. So it's a whole process because you got the pre-production, you got production, then post-production. So it's right now we've got the story, we've got the beginning, we got the ending, and it's we've got the skeleton of the story. Now it's putting all the meat on the bones and creating everything, the path and the journey for each character,
Hmm.
and bringing everyone to life. And then once you've got that, we film it, put that all together, and then the whole, everyone's favorite job is the post processing, editing it all together and making the final project. So it's a little ways away, but it's going to be so worth it.
Well, I'm already. I'm not in a hurry to get to that age, but I'm excited for when it comes out. I'll be watching it. But no, there's a couple comments here. Judge Doom has said, "Can Chris use the nighttime shot for the night owls backdrop for my evening show?" It's a good idea, and I thought about that, Judge Doom. But the problem is that it's a portrait shot. It's not a landscape, and I don't know if Eric took any landscape shots. I took them with the intent of using them for a backdrop for my channel, but they weren't. The detail wasn't good enough to make it worthwhile. So I don't know if Eric had any not portrait, landscape. If you had any landscape, then maybe I'll use one of those. But it would be pretty awesome to have it as a backdrop when I do the Night Owls program. My backdrop is right now is a mountain range in South Africa, which works out pretty well. Go ahead, Eric.
Okay, yeah, landscape. I didn't. It's hard because just the way the orientation of it was going. It was vertical, so I had to use a portrait shot.
Yeah, and otherwise you wouldn't have caught much. It would have been. It's difficult to get that. So, and then there's a comment here from Paulie Fire, who's a fireman in South Africa, and he says Eric seems like a good guy to have around the braai with many stories. Yeah, I agree. Well, a braai is a South African Afrikaans word for a barbecue. Not quite the same, but similar.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So when he says braai,
when are we going?
What's that?
When are we going to go?
What, to South
I want
Africa?
to go to one.
To South Africa?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Well, right now we can't get in because you have to have a negative COVID test within 72 hours. By the time you get your results, the 72 hours will be passed. So,
right.
Yeah. But once the government of South Africa stops this nonsense, they drop to the knees, starving for funds from tourists. Then they'll ease this restriction. But yeah, we do need to get South Africa. There's so much to see. And speaking of photography, oh my goodness, you could spend months there just taking amazing photographs and selling them. It would be something else. It'd be really, really cool. So yeah,
that'd be awesome.
It would be amazing, absolutely amazing. Well, right now I'm intending to be in South Africa a few times next year, but certainly around this time next year in mid-October to November, I'm helping coordinate a Swiss yodeling band known as Ösch die Dritten, who are popular in South Africa.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm promoting that music, and they've already committed to coming to South Africa. So when they're down there, I anticipate being down there for their 7 to 10 concert tour of South Africa, which will be pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah, should be pretty cool. And if you're free, maybe you want to come along.
I would. Yeah, they need someone taking pictures of the tour.
Yeah, maybe. But by the way, South Africa has its own film industry, and they've had some pretty successful films and some very good ones. Of course, you're probably familiar with District 9. That was kind of a big blockbuster.
Yes.
That was filmed in South Africa.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
It is. But
I'm trying to remember the actor's name. He's an incredible actor.
Oh, he's got quite a range. I didn't even realize it was him. I saw him in some other things, and then I was like, well, that name looks familiar, and it turned out it was that same guy. But yeah, there's a number of things. They actually had a film about a decade ago for the first ever major motion picture that was done in Zulu. There'd never been a film done in Zulu before, and it was called Yesterday.
Wow.
It was called Yesterday. It's about a woman whose husband is off in the mining camps, and he's screwing around, and he contracts HIV, comes back, of course, gives it to her, and then he comes back to the countryside, and he's sick, and people don't want to be around him. It's set in the time frame of 20 years ago when there was a lot of stigma around HIV, and people were afraid of drinking water from the same spigot because they thought they could catch it, kind of like the hysteria around COVID-19 now, but it was around HIV. So he comes back, and they kick them out of the village, and they go live on the plain there with the wind blowing and a tin shack, and she nurses him. And she has a child, and she's worried about her child. And he dies. She buries him, and she gets sick, and she dies. It's a really sad and tragic movie, but it's called Yesterday. But, I mean, this story's played out hundreds of thousands of times in South Africa over the last 20 or 30 years. And it was really well. So it was done in Zulu. Some other really good movies, like there's a comedy called White Wedding. It's a hilarious one. The woman who plays Doctor Who now in the UK, the female Doctor Who,
Okay.
She was actually in that. That was a minor role for her several years ago before she struck it big. Before she did Broadchurch, and then now she's done Doctor Who. But I can't think of her name right now. But she was in that. She was quite good in it. She played like a New Zealand tourist that was rocking around South Africa, and it was entertaining. It's called White Wedding. It's kind of the traditional African mix with the Western white wedding and all the chaos and confusion about brides, and it's pretty funny. And there's some other ones too. The Long Mile, which is the Long Run, excuse me, the Long Run, which is about the comrades. You like adrenaline stuff. I don't know if you know this, but they have an ultra marathon in South Africa. It's not, ultra marathons usually like 100 miles long, 160 kilometers, but this one's about 52 miles, 80 kilometers long. It's called the Comrades, and it's run every year from Pietermaritzburg in KwaZulu-Natal down to the ocean at Durban, and then the next year it's run the opposite direction. So for years I'm like,
wow.
I want to do the Comrades because this is 52 kilometers. That's an ultra marathon. I want to do this. This was a few years ago before I woke up, but but I said I want to do this, and I thought about it. I said I want to go from Pietermaritzburg to Durban because you run downhill the whole way, and you'll approach the ocean. It'll be an amazing view. And I was talking to some South Africans that actually participate in the Comrades, and they said you don't want to do that. Think about it. So I started for a second. I'm like, why wouldn't I? Wait a second. If I'm running downhill all the time, I'll bet that's brutal on my tendons and my joints because your body is always, and that's right. Never run downhill, always run uphill.
It's like, oh man, that would be a tough one, but props to you because I'll run all day in soccer, but you asked me to just go run for a jog. I'm like, no, after like 2 miles, I'm like, no, I'm done. I'm finished.
Speaking of which, Erik, now that you've brought the subject of that vile sport up, let's talk about that. So listen, it was
broke
all,
up a little bit.
It was all I could do. It was all I could do to invite you on the channel when I found that you played that. A yellow card, he touched me. Yellow card, he touched me. You see, I'm wearing a jersey from a genuine sport, a real sport for real men, real women. This is
Isn't that's
It's Ireland. It's Ireland, man.
It's Ireland.
Yeah, Irish rugby football.
Okay.
Game. Yeah, this is from the 2019 Rugby World Cup. Yeah, no, this is a real game. This is where men are men and women are women, and everybody has a good time. But you've played for a long time that, I don't know. I don't want to be disrespectful, but let's just say it was less than sport, which a lot of the world knows as football. But, of course, the British named it. They called it soccer. And until the 1960s, when they turned on the rest of us and started following the rest of the world calling it football, they called it soccer as well. But we still call it soccer because that's the original name. But the Brits look down their nose at us, but they're the ones that named it. So I don't understand that. But anyway, no, but seriously, Erik, you played soccer for ages, right? I mean, a long time.
25 years. I love that game. Yeah. So I turned 44 this year. So yeah, that sport I could play all day long. It's such an amazing game.
Now
that was my first foray into drama school.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, no, I get that. The acting, all the injuries. I watched it again the other day. I watched the Bayern München because I do follow Bayern München. I've been a fan since 1984. And I watched the guy fall over. No one near him. And he's like grabbing his shin like, oh, gosh, oh, my gosh. Like he'd been hit by a Mack truck. I mean, come on, man. As Joe Biden would say, oh, come on, man.
See, in the game, I was the Mack truck. It wasn't a fake injury. I really ran him over.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, if you ran into me, I would probably be painful. It would be painful. See, in rugby, I play on the wing because I was skinny and fast. And so all those guys in the middle have those big cauliflower ears from people grabbing their ears and ripping them inside the scrum. Never in the scrum. Let the fellows do that. I'll be out here waiting for a pass, and then I'm gone.
It does look like an intriguing game. It was one I always would have gotten into, but I got into soccer when I was 4, and I played forever. I loved until I was 30. Great game.
So
great game.
Just in case I need to alert the authorities in Georgia, I'm just curious. Do you have any intention of subjecting your children to that game?
My son already says, Phoenix, my oldest boy, is like, yeah, he's like, Daddy, I like soccer.
Oh, okay. There you go.
My boy.
There you go. But no, the soccer's cool. I enjoy playing soccer. I've loved playing. First time I ever played it, I was at university. The first time I ever went on the soccer pitch, and I was playing against Palestinians and Africans and Southeast Asians and Oh my goodness, did they get into the game? And I realized pretty quickly as a young man that this is a sport that people around the world truly love.
It's a way of life. In America, there's too many, we have such diversity of sports.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, I mean, football obviously is probably leading the pack, but there's baseball, you've got lacrosse, you've got soccer, and there's so many different options to play. But the rest of the world, it's soccer, and it's your team, it's your city's team, and everyone rallies around that team, and it's really cool. There's nothing like going to a European game, or I've never been to an African game, but there's some amazing teams that come out of Africa.
Oh yeah, Ivory Coast,
incredible
Nigeria
players
from time to time. Ghana's been good, but Ivory Coast has been good historically too. Yeah. So let me ask this question. You don't have to go into it if you don't want to, because we really haven't talked about this. You and I have had personal conversations, but I mean, as an actor, a lot of big actors, once they've made it big, politics, people asked us in the chat a couple times, politics suddenly is on their sleeve and they're all over the place in politics. Do you see a lot of that, or is that something you just kind of stay away from? Or what's your view on that?
My view on, I mean, obviously you could get very political because you get a lot of power when you're an actor and everyone looks up to you. They look to you like, oh, this guy, they want to see what he says about it. I mean, but to me, what I would do when and if I get to that level, let's say when I get to that level, is I want to make the world, I want to give principles. I want to make the world better. And I believe we do that from the inside out. And it's not something that's going to be that necessarily can come from a government or from, politics. I think it's got to come from the heart. And the government and doesn't necessarily address the heart as much as arts and if you want to put it, religion do. Mm-hmm. Yes, I am a Catholic but I would never impose that view on anybody. Everyone makes their own decision. Like St. Francis said, and it's I've lived by this motto. And he's like, preach every day of your life and sometimes use words. I want my life and how I live and how I am happy and I lead my life. I want someone to say like, that guy looks genuinely at peace and happy. What's he doing? Why is he doing it? Why is he like that? And then I want to do that. I don't want to say like, oh no, to be happy and peaceful, you got to do this, 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 and this. Cause that's who wants to be told what to do? If I live it and I'm happy and someone sees that and they're like, well, why is he like that? Or why does he have so much energy, enthusiasm, and happiness? I want to find out more. Then you can ask. And then I can go into why. And then everyone makes their own choice on how to arrive to happiness and if you want to get there.
I think that's a great answer.
No, I wouldn't get into the politics of it. I would be like, no, this is my life, what I'm doing. My family's my core. And this is where I go to for my happiness. And if you want to try it and you'll find an answer there. But I'm not going to tell you which party to pick or how to choose, but you make your own choice. I'll show you what's worked for me.
I think that's absolutely brilliant. In fact, Stronger Together is commenting. He said, "You're right, brother," with an exclamation point. Agreeing with you 100% there. No, that's good stuff. And then Judge Doom, the jury of sin, has got multiple hand clapping going on here from all ethnicities. He's got some yellow hands, some white hands, some brown hands, some black hands. Anyway, so yeah, I think I like your philosophy, Erica. That's pretty awesome. Hey, let me ask a question, because this I found fascinating before we get too close to the end here, and that was. When you did the audition, I was kind of like, you're like just recording us on your phone and you're just going to send it in. Don't you have to go to the audition? And you said to me that actually Atlanta has taken an approach a few years back in which this is the way they do auditions by and large. And that because of COVID-19, others are needing to adapt to that sort of thing. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So Atlanta has been, we do all, like you experienced it. All of my auditions are done online. Hold on one. Xavier. Can you see over there, buddy? Thanks, bud. Sorry, my little guy's here.
Yeah.
He's all of our we shoot the audition. I shoot it on my camera, transfer it on my computer, edit it really quickly, and email it in. Very fast, very efficient way for the Atlanta market. How we've been doing it for the casting directors to get an audition, look at it, review it, and say these are the ones we want, these are the ones we don't want. But normally the process is you call in 50 people. They come to an audition room. One person goes in. They slate their name, do their audition, they come out, the next person goes in, and it takes an entire day to do it, or it's a couple hours. Whereas now you have a 1-minute clip she's done with all of her audition hour or 20 minutes, or she can see in the first 10 seconds, nope, nope. And she can go on to whatever he or she. It's very a fast and efficient way to do it. And now because they're not doing in-person auditions because of COVID, everyone's kind of having to jump on, oh, how do we do all this? But Atlanta's been doing it for years now, and we're way ahead of the game in that sense. So it's a cool thing that we've been doing that, you know, we're real well seasoned in auditioning on tape at this point.
No, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Listen, Erik, I'm not going to keep you because obviously your little ones are looking for your attention there, and so that's unfair. But one last question about this, and I'll give you a chance to say something before we wrap up. And that's you were in Chicago, you're living in Atlanta now. By all accounts, what you've shared with me and how happy you seem about it, it seems like Atlanta has been a wonderful experience for you and your family, your wife and kids as well.
Atlanta is. I'm a big city guy. I love big cities, and Atlanta has that feel, but yet at the same time, it's got that Southern charm. It's very genuine, very good-hearted people. It's not the cutthroat atmosphere that you kind of get on both of the coasts, you know, in the big cities. It's everyone's down to earth and they're friendly. And for my family and for the schooling system and the friends that they have, it's one of the best places we've ever found, if not the best place, because my wife she's from the island in Puerto Rico, and we lived in just north of Miami right before we came to Atlanta. And when I told her we're moving up here, we wanted to move up here, she started crying. She's like, I finally am living on the beach. I'm at the beach and you're making me leave. I'm like, but sweetheart, I understand that it's only, you know, it's 7 hours away and a drive, you know, we can fly down here in 45 minutes. She's like, no, we're on the beach and you're making me leave. And I'm like, please, sweetheart, it's so busy up there. My agency's asking me, come up here, we'll get you so much work. And now she is a diehard fan of Atlanta. And she's like, it feels like home.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's a great place. The city's here. We've got the mountains just, a half hour north of us. We've got tons of waterfalls, lots of nature, tons of trees. It's a great place for my kids and for our family. So it truly is home.
No, that's brilliant. Thanks for sharing that, Erik. So I just wanted the one comment when Stronger Together was saying that Sid Right On Brother, what he was your specific way said that you said that you must be the change that you want to see in the world. And so that's what he was really, thumbs up on that one. Well, Erik, any final thoughts? And before you give me the final thoughts, I'm going to invite you to come back to the channel. We'll get you back on at a future point if you'd like to come back and talk about when you appear in the sequel to the sequel of Baby Shark, 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 Daddy Shark, Shark, Shark.
Grandpa Shark.
Oh, Grandpa Shark, do. But any final thoughts before we get you out of here? And then anything you want to share with folks? It can be about anything at all.
Anything. I just want to say thank you, first of all, for inviting me. Thank you for talking with me on our entire trip to Wyoming, because you opened my eyes to so many things and so much knowledge, so much wisdom in you. And so thank you for that and for all the conversations. And I truly have to, my hat's off to each one of you, because who you are and what you've done in your life, and every one of the guys that was on that trip, I just pushed a button and captured some moments, but I came away so enriched by who you guys are, what you've done in your service. And so for that, thank you, because you have all made me better. And that experience was truly epic and every way of the word, every facet.
Erik, well, that's very kind of you. But we can't sell yourself short there. You were amazing as well. And I think you touched everybody's lives, and not just with the camera, but listen, a lot of special forces guys, real He-Man, not gonna admit that something's not working right. Body part isn't going. It's gonna suck it up and drive on, even if your heels are bleeding and your knee pops out and there's a bone sticking out. Guys that's just the nature of folks that do that. But your infectious enthusiasm probably took a lot of the aches and pains away from guys who probably should have been resting on a lawn chair somewhere, as they watched you running about back and forth, running to the head of the column with like 75 pounds in your rucksack. And, oh, wait, okay, let me get this shot here. And then we're all like, okay, thank gosh, Erik's going forward. We can catch our breath for a minute. So you were inspirational, and I think you touched everybody's life. So it was a distinct pleasure getting to know you. I hope I can call you a friend, because I feel as if you are a friend.
Truly, yes, you are. I feel the same way.
All right, Erik.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, please. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I said thank you, and then yes, truly, you are a friend.
All right, thanks a lot, Eric. Okay, so I'm gonna put you in the waiting room and let you get back to your kids there. If you can hang around for a minute, I'll chat with you afterwards. But you have to drop off. That's fine. I'll just call you later. But ladies and gentlemen, there's Erik Bello, the professional actor and photographer. Check out his links below the video. Get him to wave goodbye. Wave goodbye there, Eric. We can get a wave. All right. Okay, there he goes. He's out of here. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in once again to Chris White Africa. I hope that I know my face is all messed up. I'm working on it. There we go. I hope that you found this interesting, illuminating, and informative. And as I predicted, and as I told you guys, listen, Erik Bello is infectious. His enthusiasm, his lust, his desire, his joy for life it's infectious, and you just want to be part of it. What an amazing fellow. It was a pleasure having him on the channel, and I hope that you guys spread the word and a lot more people get to watch this after the interview, because I know people were tied up today and couldn't get to it. But thank you so much for that, ladies and gentlemen. It was wonderful. I will do a Night Owls edition tonight for those who show up. I haven't done a Night Owls in a bit because of events and because of interviews, so it's been a few days since I did a Stray Voltage Night Owls edition, and we will talk about events around the world. We'll go over the debate, if you want to call it a debate from last night, discuss what came out of that. I'll give you my grade ranking for President Trump and for former Vice President Joe Biden. Anyway, folks, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to close out here, and I'll be back at 3:35 Eastern Standard Time in about 2.5 hours, 9:35 in Botswana. In South Africa, of course, that's 8:35 in Windhoek, London, and Abuja. Thanks for tuning in, folks. God bless, and I appreciate your patronage, and we'll catch you here shortly. Don't forget, tomorrow, Mimi Kalinda's on the channel from South Africa, and then on Friday, by popular demand, Wayant du Toit. And I'm also trying to get Valerie from the person organizing things down there in the Western Cape. All that's coming up on the channel. Thank you so much. God bless, and we'll see you a little bit later on. Chris White Africa. Take care, folks. Let me make sure I get this off. I got to turn this off properly so I don't mess it up. There we go.